It is finally time for a reading video. This is just some of the books that I've read over the last few months that I really wanted to chat about, starting with Watermoon. If you haven't read this, you should really put it on your TBR. It follows the main character, Hannah, as she goes through kind of like a whimsical, little bit thrilling journey. It's got very cozy vibes, and it's also really interesting in the sense that it makes you think about things in a way that you've never thought about them before, if that makes sense. I bought this because I just thought that it was such a beautiful book, and you can't get it at the standard places like Kmart, or at least you couldn't when I bought it. So when I go to fancy bookshops that stock more books than Kmart or Big W, I like to pick up something that I wouldn't ordinarily be able to get at those other places. And this one, it was on my list for so long because it's so beautiful, and I waited and waited, and then I finally bought it, and then I finally read it, and I just thought it was so beautiful. So I recommended it to my sister, and then she got her and her friend to read it in a book club, and they both loved it. It was actually my sister's friend's top favorite book ever, and then now my dad is reading it, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of it, because that will be like a good test to see if it's for everybody or not. So it's set in Tokyo, but it also half takes place in almost like another world or realm that's different to ours. It has a lot of deep and meaningful themes and ideas, and it's also written so beautifully and so poetically, but it's not hard to digest. It's light but deep, if that makes sense. And I thought it was one of the most beautifully written books that I've ever read, and I love that. It kind of gives The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue vibes in a very different way. It's more simple, but just as beautiful and just as profound. The only thing I didn't really enjoy about this book is that it left me a little bit confused, which is kind of maybe the point and kind of enjoyable in some respects. It's so beautiful, but I was a bit confused for a lot of it, and I don't think it got resolved at the end. I don't know, I did rate it 5 stars. Now thinking that it left me like a bit confused, maybe 4.5. Really good, but yeah, I don't know. If somebody has read this book and knows exactly what happened, if you could like send me your Cliff Notes version, that would be good, because then I could just like, you know, solidify the story in my head. Next, I read Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This book is really good. It was pretty hyped when I was going into it. Like I went into it with quite a bit of expectation, and it didn't disappoint. It is very contemporary romance, which I haven't read much of, and you know, high society, like fun, love triangles type thing. It does have like some pretty serious topics in it, but it is quite lighthearted. You do kind of fall into their world, which I do quite enjoy. Things that I didn't love about this book is that it's written in first person. I do prefer third person, and then also it does do perspective swapping. It shows both perspectives of the two main characters. I much preferred Magnolia's point of view, and I think I would have enjoyed if it was her point of view the whole story. I do understand why, you know, Jessa Hastings put, what's his name, BJ's point of view in, but I do want to get a pretty copy of all these books because I don't really like this cover. Yeah, I guess I'll continue reading and then see what I think at the end. I also don't think she should have called the main character BJ. I don't know, I probably would have chose something else. The next book I read was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously, this is a very highly rated book. I think it's a 5 star from me, definitely up there. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think the thing that I liked about it the most was that it made me think about space and the universe in a way that I never had before. Obviously, I've watched and read things set in space before, and I know about space, but I never have really conceptualized that. And I think it did a great job of making you really feel like you were in the science world without it being boring. You know what I mean? It made me kind of realize why people want to become astronauts, which I had never, you know, cared about. I did sob at the end, a lot of sobbing. I also appreciated the whole women in the 80s trying to get into NASA, that whole narrative. I think that was really well done because it didn't feel like gimmicky, it felt real. I don't know, you always kind of fall into a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, so I did really enjoy this. I don't know if there's anything I particularly didn't like. I mean, the beginning of the book starts with the end. Do you know what I mean? When they kind of throw you into the end and then you do flashbacks. I think I would have been hit harder potentially if it didn't do that, and I didn't kind of know what was going to happen until the very end of the book. It did feel like a tiny bit rushed to me right at the end, but very small thoughts. I think it's a very good book. The next book I read was Murder at Mount Fuji. I picked this up again at one of those bookstores like that stocks more than just Big W. So I bought this because I thought it was beautiful, and when I looked at it, the back of the book said a rediscovery rediscovered classic from Japan's Queen of Crime. And then I opened it and I read about the author and I thought, that's really cool. I want to read this book. This sounds really cool. And also the cover is very beautiful and matches sort of the theme of the books that I had got recently. So I thought it would look good on my bookshelf. Anyway, I thought it would be a great way to jump into a different genre because I like to do that a lot. I like to read a lot of different genres so that I can have like a wide variety. Otherwise I get pretty bored. I did enjoy it. It is translated from Japanese into English. Obviously I don't read Japanese. I thought the translation was good in the sense that it didn't feel like I was reading a translation. I've read a couple of other translated books that I think are a bit more true translations, if that makes sense. But this one, the author took creative liberties and I didn't know that till the end, till I finished it. But looking back, it does make sense. So this was translated in the 80s as well. So like right after it was written, and it was translated for an American audience, and the translator thought to make it more palatable for an American audience, they would change one of the characters from a Japanese character to an American character, and it did feel like she was out of place, the American, and I don't know, I think I would have preferred it if that wasn't changed, and I probably would have picked up a different translation of this book had I have known that going in. But again, it was pretty good. It was nothing groundbreaking, but I did appreciate the change in perspective of, you know, you kind of knew what happened, or you felt like you knew what happened, and then it went to the different perspective. Like, so first it followed the American exchange student, and then it followed the detectives, and then it went back to the American exchange student. And I feel like the transition of perspectives was really good, and I preferred it because it was done in big sections. It wasn't like swapping one for one, and then also it was written in third person, which I do like better. I think if you're going to write from a bunch of different perspectives, it works better if you do write in third person, because then, I don't know, I just think it works better. I just think it's easier to understand. So this is the book that I finished most recently, called Blue Sisters. I finished this like last week and I thought it was really good. So I picked this book up ages ago and I started reading it, and then I kind of didn't really fall into the story, and so I just stopped reading it a couple of chapters in. And then after reading these, I've been in my physical book era, if you can't tell. So I wanted to read another physical book, and I already had this obviously. So I thought I'm going to pick this up and continue reading it, and I'm actually really glad I did. It was really, really enjoyable. This follows three sisters and their journey through grief over losing the fourth sister. So this one also does follow all the different perspectives. But again, I think it's done really well because it's in third person, and each character had a very, very distinct like character, vibe, personality. Even if it didn't tell you whose perspective you were reading from, I think you'd be able to tell because it was just written so well. I just think it did a really good job of going through their personal journeys, and it touched on some pretty heavy topics like death, overdose, drug addiction, infidelity, a whole bunch of stuff. It was really good. I really liked it. I think it might be a 5-star for me. The only thing I didn't like about it, again, was the ending. I did like the ending, but then the epilogue, I think was it was a bit cliche. It was kind of like, oh, like let's make the ends tie in pretty perfectly and exactly how you would expect them to go, and make it really satisfying for the reader. But for me, sometimes that almost makes it less satisfying because I'm like, oh, this was so tragic and complex, and now it's just become so, I don't know, it felt a bit trivial at the end. And then also, this might be a spoiler, so take that with a grain of salt, but the book, the last like paragraph ends from the perspective of a baby, which was not for me. I don't think it needed to be like that on the nose. You know what I mean? I think I get what the author was trying to do, but I think it could have been handled with a bit more subtlety, if you know what I mean. So I would really recommend this book though, for anyone that likes literary fiction, general fiction type books. I thought it was really, really good. So I'm currently reading The Spell Shop, which I got on Kindle Daily Deals ages ago, and it's like a cozy fantasy, I want to say. I'm not sure. I've only just started it, and I was reading it because I didn't really have any physical books left to read, and I wanted to read something before bed last night. But now I have some new books. So I've had this book for a while, You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I actually haven't read any Emily Henry books yet. I've listened to the audio of Funny Story, and I thought that was a really good audiobook and I enjoyed it. So I'm excited to give this a read. It's been on my shelf for a while, but the reason that I haven't read it yet is that I'm going on holidays this week, going on a road trip to the beach, and I thought I want to read You and Me on Vacation when I'm on vacation, or when I'm on holidays. That's on my TBR for starting this week, and I'm very excited about it. I'll be vlogging that trip, including what I eat and where we go and my reading. So if you're interested in following along with me as I read it, I would definitely recommend subscribing and like keeping an eye out for that video. And then today I went to Big W and I actually picked up, these are F1 books. F1 romances, I think. I love Formula One. I want to make videos about Formula One. I watch it every week. I followed it for years and years and years, and I'm obsessed, and I love reading. This is not something that I think I'm going to like, and I have very low expectations, but I thought it would be fun to read them as a Formula One fan. Do you know what I mean? Give my honest opinions and kind of blend the two worlds. I'm definitely going to make a video reading these and reviewing them as an F1 fan. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about in this video. I just wanted to sort of chat about books. Thank you for watching if you made it to the end, and I guess I will catch you in the next one.